Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am Sian, grand finalist of this contest 2020, and I am very glad to be back again here as your MC today. Every single year, the HKFYG English Public Speaking Contest has been highlighted by incredible performances from our contestants. Due to the pandemic, this year, the entire contest, including today's grand finals, are conducted online. We'd now like to say hello to those watching our live stream online from home. Now, let us welcome the judging panel of the grand finals of the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups English Public Speaking Contest 2022. Sitting on the judging panel today are Mr. Kenneth Chen Wei-on, SBS, Vice President of the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups, and is also the head judge of the contest. Mr. C.M. Chan, President of the Law Society of Hong Kong. Dr. Jose Lai, Director of the English Language Teaching Unit of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Ms. Margaret Leung, Chairman, Executive Committee of the English Speaking Union Hong Kong. Mr. Jeff Streeter, Director of the British Council Hong Kong. And Professor Melinda Wong, Director of Center for Language Education, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Our question masters are Ms. Elizabeth Ward, Consul General of the Australian Consulate General Hong Kong, and Mr. Victor Ho, Consul Political of the Consulate General of the Republic of Singapore in Hong Kong. We are also very happy to have Mr. Andy Ho, Executive Director of the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups, here with us today to support our contestants. Thank you all. Now, let's take a group photo for our judging panel, question masters, and Andy. 1, 2, 3, smile. One more. 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you all. We are very grateful that our contest has been a smooth success thanks to the generous support from our co-organizer, the English Speaking Union Hong Kong, along with our 11 supporting organizations shown on the screen. Without their unwavering support, it would not have been a success. Of course, we'd also like to thank all of you, guests, parents, teachers, students, staff, and volunteers for accommodating our various special arrangements this year and for being the reason of why this is all possible. Now, let's briefly run through the rules of today's competition. We will begin with the junior division for forms 1 to 3, or years 7 to 9, and then followed by the senior division for forms 4 to 6, or years 10 to 13. The format of both categories will be the same. Each finalist will make a 3-minute speech in response to a pre-provided guiding question. Timekeeping will start immediately after the finalist has started his or her speech. At the time of 3 minutes, the finalist must immediately stop his or her speech. There is no grace period. The finalist will then be asked 2 questions on the spot by our question masters, one related to the speech by Ms. Elizabeth Ward, and one unrelated question by Mr. Victor Ho. Each finalist will have 1 minute to answer each question. Right after the question, timekeeping will start, and the finalist may give his or her answers. At the time of 1 minute, the speaker must stop immediately. The judges will rate each performance according to the substance of speech, style, and techniques of the speaker, general effectiveness, as well as a response to questions. In each division, a champion, first runner-up, second runner-up will be chosen, and 2 merit awards will be given out at the awards ceremony later this morning. After all finalists have delivered their speeches today, a live voting session will be opened for Audience Favorites Award for each division at around 11:50. Our audience watching online can access the voting page and vote by following the instructions and link provided during the voting session. This award will be determined solely on popular votes. The results will be released right away. So remember to stay tuned for all the performances of the grand finals and cast your vote for your favorite performance. Now, without further ado, let's begin the contest with the junior division. This year, we would like to invite our speaker to think critically and creatively. They are confronted with Mahatma Gandhi's quote, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." Our contestants have been asked, what is their take on compassionate leaders? What do you think this means? Have you ever experienced or witnessed a moment like this? Do you think that compassion is an important characteristic that a leader should have? Now, let us introduce the first contestant of the junior division, Ms. Shrestha Rakisha. The title of her speech is Overflowing Reservoir. Rakisha, you can adjust your screen to make sure that you can see the timer clearly. Are you ready?
Yes, thank you.
You may begin now.
One question that always gets asked in interviews is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? However, ladies and gentlemen, do you know who you truly are? How can one know more about themselves? Perhaps through taking the popular MBTI test or by checking your horoscopes. Knowing more about yourself is indeed very important, as well as having compassion in our lives. As once mentioned by the father and great leader of India, Mahatma Gandhi, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Our society needs leaders with compassion to move forward. Another great inspirational leader, the Dalai Lama, once mentioned, a mind committed to compassion is like an overflowing reservoir, a constant source of energy, determination, and kindness. A compassionate mind is like a reservoir filled with abundant water, helping people develop their determination and energy. I remember when I went back to Nepal for the summer holidays, and my parents took me to volunteer at the school they grew up in, where many students were less fortunate than I was. And at first, I remember thinking to myself, here we go again. I need to pretend like I'm having fun when I would much rather be anywhere else. However, as I was aimlessly following one of the leaders, I spotted one of the kids crying alone. And the leader must have sensed the same too, as she was already by the kid's side, comforting him before I could even process what was happening. In my mind, I was just like, wow, she helped him so instinctively. Later that day, when I passed by the kid, I almost couldn't believe my eyes. He was the one comforting one of his friends. This unfamiliar incident made me realize that the leader is the source of kindness, and compassion flows around from person to person, rippling out, impacting others. Although it might have been an unfamiliar environment to me, their devotion to servicing others is truly undeniable. The leader's sense of mission stems compassion for the kids, and it is crucial to being a good leader. No matter how big or small the action is, it still makes all the difference in other people's lives. Thus, we should all have that overflowing reservoir of compassion within us to make the world a better, nonviolent place. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Rakisha. Ms. Ward will now ask you a question relating to your speech. The countdown will start after the question has been raised, and you will be given 1 minute to respond to the question. Ms. Ward, please.
Hello, Rakisha. What has this pandemic taught and showed you about service in the community?
This pandemic has definitely been a very different experience to me. And in the past, we were able to do community service and help service others through meeting them or going to elderly homes or selling flags. However, nowadays, due to this pandemic, servicing others and helping others have taken a turn, and we can do it in different ways, such as some online community services, helping people or like teaching people and helping elderlies. I feel like during this pandemic, there's more opportunities for us to be able to connect to people online, although it may not be the same experience as helping people face to face. I think during this pandemic, we have really found this new side of helping people, and it makes us feel that we don't have to necessarily be face-to-face to make a connection with other people and to help other people in our lives. So during this pandemic, I have found out that servicing others doesn't have to be face-to-face, but it can be by any means as long as you have the right will in your mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. I will now ask you a second question that is not related to your speech. Once again, the countdown will start after the question has been raised, and you will have 1 minute to provide your answers. Mr. Ho, please.
Okay. Hi, good morning, Rikisha. My question for you is this. Do you think that volunteering or service in the community is something that can be lifelong, or do we only do it when we have time?
I feel like voluntary work is many people do voluntary work for many different reasons. Some people may just do it because they want to, or their schools like force them to do it so they get extra credit. But in my personal opinion, if people truly have the passion to do voluntary work and to help others and to provide services to others, it can definitely be a lifelong thing. I mean, just think about it. If you truly have the passion deep down in your heart to service for others and help provide them with a better life, why can't it be a lifelong thing? I mean, some people definitely do it for their own personal reasons or to look good, especially nowadays, with many influencers just helping others or mimicking that they are helping others sometimes when the camera's on, but then when the camera's off, they pretend like they don't even exist. However, I feel like people with the true passion of helping others and they want to make a difference in their life by helping others and providing services to others, then servicing for others and voluntary work can truly become a lifelong thing. Thank you.
Our rotating breakthrough. Judges, please fill out the online score sheets. Let us now introduce the second contestant of the junior division, Ms. Erin Smith Eunice Onyenyechi. The title of her speech is Compassion Completes Community. Eunice, you can adjust your screen to make sure that you can see the timer clearly. Hello, Eunice. You can now adjust your screen to make sure that you can see the timer clearly. Are you ready?
Yes.
You may begin now.
Mahatma Gandhi, a civil rights leader, used his life to exemplify his famous saying, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." Applied to today's world, Gandhi is urging us to focus entirely on the people we serve with compassion. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my honor to be here today to share Compassion Completes Community. In 2018, I joined volunteer work in Uganda. When I was told I had to endure a subpar living environment, living in poorly built houses, I was petrified. However, by shifting my focus from how I was going to survive each day to serving the villagers, I experienced losing myself and finding my value in building nicer houses to fit their needs. I was humbled in the process, but how much more could actually give when putting their concerns before my own. To serve a community appropriately, compassion is indispensable. Without it, we'll end up serving others for our own interests rather than that of those we serve. How then do we do that? True compassion is to hear, to feel, and to act accordingly. To serve a community appropriately, we must open our hearts, listen to them, and feel their struggles. Only by doing so can we take due action to faithfully meet their needs or even mitigate their hardships. This is particularly vital for a leader who vows to serve a community, a city, or even a country. To lead is to serve. But to serve without compassion would mean there are individuals whose voices are not heard, who feel unneeded, and worst of all, who are underserved. Precisely contrary to a leader's vows. If Gandhi had liberated his countrymen with compassion, Indians would have had to suffer endless violence and bloody wars. With sustained compassion, Nelson Mandela's nonviolent approach brought an end to apartheid, to liberty of people of color in South Africa. These two compassionate leaders are showing leaders of today that they must hear the voices of the people they serve, feel their true needs, and act with compassion to keep their communities intact. Sadly, the wars that we're witnessing today serve as a ringing warning for us. We must strive to be leaders with compassion, because if not, we'll only break our communities rather than complete them. My dear friends, though we may be young, let it not stop us from doing our part to serve and complete our communities by losing a bit of ourselves and along the way finding our true value. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Eunice. Ms. Board will now ask you a question relating to your speech. The counter will start right after the question has been raised, and you will have 1 minute to answer it. Ms. Board, please.
Thank you, Eunice. We've been in a pandemic for 2 years. What traits do you identify as leadership in a crisis?
Thank you for your question. In a crisis, what counts as leadership is a person who gives us hope and actually takes care of people and see their hardships. For example, there are leaders in organizations who see that there are communities such as there's elderlies in their retirement homes, or there's people who just lost their job that are in need of the government's help. However, because the government is very busy right now and have many things to control, they organize donations or even some volunteer work where you can do online to help these people. For example, we can donate some of our money to give them, to let these organizations buy them supplies, to give them appropriate materials needed to hang in there. It's most important to give a community hope and to give them actual actions to show the compassion for that community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hui will now ask you a second question that is not related to your speech. Once again, the countdown will start after the question has been raised, and you will have 1 minute to answer it. Mr. Hui, please.
Hi, good morning, Eunice. My question is this. What, in your opinion, are the most needed skills to be competitive to succeed after school?
Thank you for your question. Personally, I think the most important skills and characteristics is to be optimistic and to have hope. For example, I lost last year in the semifinals. However, I know that I can do better. Therefore, with my optimistic enthusiasm, I kept on training to be better and better. And look where I am now. Right now, I'm in the grand finals and I'm doing my best. Therefore, I think that everyone, in order to do better and to score a better score in later in their life or in the future, need to be optimistic and need to strive to be better, and also be flexible, knowing that I failed in this way. I can change my way of thinking. I can change my mindset, and maybe I can do better in the future. Therefore, I think that to do better, you need to be a person who is optimistic, enthusiastic, and also flexible. Thank you.
Thank you, Eunice. You may now proceed to our waiting breakout rooms. Judges, there will be a minute of silence for you to fill out the online score sheets.
Am I audible?
Let us now introduce the third contestant in the junior division, Miss Lau Sum Lau. The title of her speech is Give to Gain. Miss Lau, you can adjust your screen to make sure that you can see the timer clearly. Are you ready?
Yes.
You may begin now.
Who am I? That was the question that lingered in my mind as I grew up. Gandhi once said, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." To me, that meant that placing the needs of others before our own is a crucial step on the journey of self-discovery. And this has certainly been a guide on my trek to developing my identity. When I was a lower primary student, my mindset was get to gain. I blindly charged forward, shutting out all the wishes of all those people around me. And that worked out for me. With all these items that I longed for right in front of me and taking all of the resources, I was joyful. But not for those around me. After I stepped into the gateway of secondary school, I was shocked to find that there was a mandatory community service twice a year. I obviously wasn't happy with this rule. Alas, I had to comply. Surprisingly, when I was pressured to make an effort to actually help at the senior citizens' home or the orphanage, I saw the most gigantic smiles on their faces. And what that did to me was bring a sense of energy and self-worth that I had never felt before. This pure happiness and satisfaction came from the thought that I might have brought light into someone's life. I started to realize that there was actually a lot of value to giving. Not only did the people that I helped actually benefit, I was also able to share their joy. I then had a newfound focus and commitment towards giving, which filled up that hole in my identity. With my previous mindset of get to gain, I had all the materialistic items that I wanted, but what truly made me complete was the psychological fulfillment that only came with the mindset of give to gain. So in the present, I started to take on more leadership roles and started to take care of the whole team. My understanding of giving was further elevated because giving with compassion to those in your team is a critical characteristic. Instead of bossing people around, a good captain should listen, understand, and help their team members to fulfill their targets in order to achieve their ultimate goal. For example, Mother Teresa is a classical example of a quality leader. She, as a selfless servant leader, led her members to fulfill their targets compassionately. Her renowned success paved the way for the normalization of a giving leader in my mind. So, now that my mindset is give to gain, my identity is slowly becoming clearer. I want to ask you, what about you? Are you ready to find out who you are? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speech, Ms. Lau. Ms. Ward will now ask you a question relating to your speech. The counter will start right after the question has been raised, and you will be given 1 minute to answer the question. Ms. Ward, please.
Good morning. How do you show empathy to others, and how have you felt empathy from others?
Thank you for your question. So, how have I felt empathy from others? I, every day, can feel this empathy from my family and from my friends. All of these people around me are very caring and compassionate, and whenever I need the support that I want to get, they will always be there for me. They will stand up for me and help whatever I want to do. And how I show compassion and empathy is for those around me, I will always limitedly support their goals too. And on the wider scale, for those that I don't know and that I believe need help, for example, in charities, I will very compassionately, I will go to these charities and I will give them all of the resources that I think they need. And I will volunteer for all the things that they want me to help with. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hui will now ask a second question that is not related to your speech. Once again, the counter will start after the question has been raised, and you'll be given 1 minute to answer it. Mr. Hui, please.
Hi, good morning, Samlam. My question for you is this. What has been the hardest thing for you to adjust to with the constant changes to online and face-to-face learning?
Thank you for your question. So I think the hardest adjustment that I have made is the fact that I cannot see my friends at school anymore. So before, when there was physical school, I got to spend almost half of my day in 5 days of the week with my friends. And we got to talk about all the things that we wanted to talk about, and we got to catch up. But the fact that we have turned into online learning meant that I couldn't see them physically. I couldn't even go to their homes because of the current crisis. But what made me help adjust to this crisis was that we all established our social media platforms and we learned to online communicate. And I actually found that there are some perks to this communication too, because there's no matter when and where we are, we can always go online and go to Google Meet or video call, and we can always meet each other, even during the night or early in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lau. You may now proceed to our waiting breakout room. There will be 1 minute of silence for judges to fill up the online score sheets. Thank you. Let us now introduce the fourth contestant of the junior division, Ms. Leung Choi Lam Phoebe. The title of her speech is Finding Yourself Through Compassion and Service. Phoebe, you can adjust your screen to make sure that you can see the timer clearly. Are you ready?
Yes.
You may begin now.
Gandhi, Malala, or even Greta Thunberg. We look up to these leaders of social movements and may put them on a pedestal. We think they must have been born with a calling or destined to be great, right? Or else, what separates them from us? Well, I'd say the answer may not be what you expected. And perhaps it lies in the wise words of Gandhi, who said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. These legends were born with a calling. They had to find their purpose like all of us. And how so? Through the service of others. Leaders who stood the test of time didn't become so by forcing others to follow their evil schemes. That is borderline dictatorship, like Hitler. Not ideal. Instead, good leaders lead by example. They themselves are compassionate and serve others, inspiring others to follow the cause out of their own volition, giving these leaders loyal followers and thus immense power. The power they only use to further their own good causes, because their leadership is driven out of a compassion for others and a desire to serve. And that is what even all of us common folks can practice. To prove that, here's an example of how I, a run-of-the-mill 15-year-old, opened my eyes to compassion and service and found a cause I felt driven to lead. For better or for worse, I have always been those kids who were chosen to be in charge of certain initiatives, but none that I ever clicked with. I showed up to work for a few hours and went home unchanged. That is until I was appointed as a sustainability ambassador a few years back, the first role I felt a kinship to. And why? Because it was the hardest thing I have ever done. And one doesn't spend hours and hours poring over how the earth is turning into a burning hellscape and preaching to strangers without turning over to the green side. From then on, being an environmentalist became who I am. I am the person my friends turn to for questions regarding environmentalism, and I am always talking about promoting and working towards a career in sustainability, much like what I'm doing now, unintentionally. I found myself through compassion and service, and though I am definitely no Gandhi, I am leading and inspiring my own small community in my own small ways. Small for now. I am starting small because I am not born great. But I doubt you are either, because neither are the leaders we look up to. They became great and found themselves through service, through compassion. And I urge you to do the same. Thank you.
Ms. Bard will now ask you a question relating to your speech. The counter will start after the question has been raised, and you'll be given 1 minute to respond to the question. Ms. Bard, please.
Hello, Phoebe. Is compassion in a leader a sign of weakness or strength? Why?
Thank you for a question. I think it's definitely a sign of strength, because that is, I think, what we lead for. We lead to make change in the world, and we cannot do that if we're not compassionate and care about others. The world is made of more than just us, and if we want to do any change, we must understand that of others. And understanding is definitely a strength. Moreover, being compassionate allows us to inspire others by serving them. And that is how we get people to follow us. People follow us out of their own volition, and that is the strongest force, because we don't need to force them to do it. Thus, I think that compassion is definitely a strong suit in leadership and something that I strive towards. It helps us understand what we do and why we lead. It helps us serve the world, and it helps us get the power we need to do it. And thus, I think that leadership is the most compassion, the most important thing in leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hui will now ask you a second question that is not related to your speech. Once again, the counter will start after the question has been raised, and you will be given 1 minute to answer the question. Mr. Hui, please.
Hi, good morning, Phoebe. My question for you is this. How have you been entertaining yourself during this pandemic? Learning new hobbies, sleeping more, maybe listening to more music?
Thank you for a question. And how I've been entertaining myself during the pandemic is that I have been trying to learn and educate myself, which sounds so cliche, but something that I enjoy. I am naturally a very curious person, and I have been filling the time by listening to podcasts about science or watching programs or even just doing research on my own, which I know sounds so nerdy. But for me, during the pandemic, I've lost a lot of learning opportunities because we can only stay at home. I can visit other places like museums or even just doing site visit. I study geography. And thus, I think that learning is really important and it fills my time. I think that learning is also a really good hobby because doing something productive that we still enjoy is the best way we can add value to ourselves. And I think that is a very important thing to do while we are students, because we should enrich ourselves so that we can be able to serve others and the world in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Phoebe. You may now proceed to our waiting breakout room, and we will have 1 minute of silence for judges to fill out the online score sheets. Thank you all. Let us now introduce the 5th contestant of the junior division, Mr. Poon Hao Hua. The title of his speech is From Compassion to Victory. Mr. Poon, you can adjust your screen to make sure that you can see the timer clearly. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
You may begin now.
Ladies and gentlemen, during the pandemic, we see people fighting over hand sanitizers and masks. Some countries even limit the exporting of these medical supplies to other places, not giving them out to the ones that desperately need them. These people are the modern evil, as they only care about themselves. They are destroying the fragile unity of our world. They are chained by greed. I'm here to offer a hammer to break those chains, which is compassion. Gandhi's quote explains it the best. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service of others. I'm just a mere speck in society, and I don't have much experience serving others yet. But let me tell you a true story. My aunt works at a nursing home. Before the pandemic, a boring work routine made her gradually lose passion for her job. Just like how others treated the job as only as a way to earn money. Since the outbreak of COVID, the nursing homes have been one of the war zones. The elderly has been suffering and dying. Some medical professionals even quit their job as they think it's too dangerous. Yet my aunt realized that it's not the time to think about her own plans. She knew she had a battle to fight. She sacrificed all her personal time and safety, staying after work to feed the ill and accompanying some of them through their last moments. Unfortunately, she also got infected. But that hasn't stopped her from assisting in operations through her phone while resting at home. This event exemplifies what it means to lose oneself in the service of others. That makes her a true servant of the people. By losing yourself, you abandon the human nature of selfishness. You find happiness not from personal desires, but from serving others. You no longer look at society in a lens which favors only yourself. But what does finding yourself mean? That is the reward of giving up your own interests. You understand what you are working and fighting for. My aunt understands that she's fighting for a greater purpose, to save lives. Everyone is contributing to society through their job. We are all cogs and gears in this complicated machine called humanity. You are not working for your employer, but for the future of everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, the working man needs compassion. If you are a business leader, I don't blame you for trying to make money, but please treat your employees with respect. Have compassion towards them. They are also your family. If you are a politician, you are elected by the people and you should work for the people. Stop giving the public empty promises. Stop working for those big corporations. Just like what Vladimir Lenin said, the true leader must submerge himself in the fountain of the people. We can see that we are not that different. We can all work together towards a common goal, which is the eventual victory for humanity. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Mr. Poon. Ms. Ward will now ask you a question relating to your speech. The countdown will start after the question has been raised, and you will have 1 minute to answer it. Ms. Ward, please.
Hello, Hawa. Mahatma Gandhi is a great favourite of mine. He's a hero. Who's your hero and why?
Thank you for your question. My hero is, as just I said, Vladimir Lenin. I myself would one day want to become a politician or even the chief executive of Hong Kong, because my goal is to serve the people and to assist in the aims of the people. Hong Kong and even the world is under the threat of politicians, under the threat of those who are evil, who do not care about the people, who do not understand the people. Lenin started the revolution in Russia because he understood the suffering of the people. And he, like me, wants to change for the better, for the betterment of humanity, not only for myself, but for Hong Kong, for the world. That's why he's my hero, as he understood the people. He made a change for the people. He was willing to help. He was willing to lead. That's why he's my hero. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hui will now ask you a second question that is not related to your speech. Once again, the countdown will start after the question has been raised, and you will be given 1 minute to answer it. Mr. Hui, please.
Hi, good morning, Hawa. My question for you is this. If the world of travel went back to normal today, so no more quarantine, no more pre and post-flight testing, no more social distancing, where would be your first destination outside Hong Kong and why?
This is a great question. I have thought of it before. For myself, I would like to go back to mainland China because during this virus, some of my relatives there have got the virus. And if the travel restrictions were less open, I would immediately go and visit them because, as I have just said, I myself have seen the people suffering in this virus. They are literally dying. They are sleeping on a bed, choking for air. So if I were to go back to the mainland to visit them, that would be my greatest hope for now. And also, they are my relatives, and I have a duty to help them. I, for self, have not gotten the virus. So I believe I have the duty before helping others. Also, I should be helping my relatives and my family. That's how a compassionate person like myself should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poon. You may now proceed to our waiting breakout room. Judges, there will be 1 minute of silence for you to fill out the online score sheets. Thank you all. All finalists in the junior division have delivered their speeches. Before proceeding to the senior division, we now have a 10-minute break. Here is a friendly reminder to jot down to vote for your favorite speaker of the junior division first, before we listen to the speeches of the 5 finalists in the senior division. See you all again at 10:45. Welcome back. Let's continue our contest with the senior division. The finalists of the senior division have been confronted with Epicurus' saying, "Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance." The guiding question is, how do you understand the saying? How do you practice resilience through challenging times? Now, let us introduce our first contestant of the senior division, Ms. Ko Hyu Yan. The title of her speech is Restricted, but Not Restricted. Ms. Ko? There is some technical issues with the contestants, so please wait a little bit. Thank you. Ms. Ko, please turn on your camera. Thank you. Ms. Ko, you can adjust your screen to make sure that you can see the timer clearly. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
You may begin now.
Itinerary planned, flights booked, rooms reserved, luggage packed. The long-awaited holiday trip is about to begin. Sounds familiar? Or no longer familiar? Hong Kong people love traveling, and so do I. That's why when the travel restrictions were announced due to the pandemic, I was first shocked, then disappointed, and at last, bitter. The wait for the lifting of the restrictions had gone from weeks to months, from months to years. Life became so dull, pointless, and hopeless. Then one day, I came upon a quote from the Greek philosopher Epicurus. "Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance." A moment of epiphany. Yes, traveling overseas, meeting interesting people, experiencing different cultures, seeing magnificent scenery are life enriching. But do the travel restrictions really make these enjoyable and magical moments impossible? Is traveling the only thing that is fulfilling to me? I let the travel restrictions restrict my life? Of course not. Then it got me thinking, what can offer me the same enjoyment and enrichment in life? The answer turned out to be very simple. Reading. Next instance, I recharged my Kindle and bought a few books about traveling by National Geographic from Amazon. And while reading them, some subtle changes are taking place. I sulked less, smiled more. The most obvious change was I wasn't even thinking about the travel restrictions that much anymore. I felt liberated. Amazing, isn't it? Enjoyable and abundance life can be that easy. All that is required is resilience. When facing bad situations, don't be defeated by the helplessness. Rather, ask yourself, do I want to stay the same way? What exactly do I want? Are there other ways to achieve it? Focus on what you can do. Concentrate on putting one foot before another, and after a while, when you raise your head, you'll see how close you are to your destination. Remember, resilience is the key to turning today's challenges into tomorrow's.
Thank you for your speech, Ms. Ko. Ms. Ward will now ask you a question relating to your speech. The counter will start once the question has been raised, and you'll have 1 minute to answer it. Ms. Ward, please.
Hello, Hyu Yang. When it comes time to choosing a subject for you to study at university, is it better to choose something you enjoy or something practical in securing a job?
If I were to choose a subject that I want to study in university, I would definitely choose that one that I enjoy. Very often you hear people saying that you need to choose the right subjects like law, medicine, so that you can get like a high paying job and get a stable living in the future. But the main point of choosing the right subject is it needs to be right for you, not just right for the expectations or the advice of others. They may think that some practical things like medicine is the most secure because, yeah, high paying, right? But the thing is, if you don't enjoy it, you won't even get the energy to study. I once chosen a wrong subject. Actually, I still have. I chose chemistry, and honestly, I don't really enjoy it. And when I try to study chemistry, I can't even find the motivation to flip open the book. This shows how important it is to actually choose something you want, because when you want it, you'll work for it, and when you work for it, it will eventually work.
Thank you. Mr. Hui will now ask you a second question that is not related to your speech. Once again, the counter will start after the question has been raised, and you will be given 1 minute to answer it. Mr. Hui, please.
Good morning, Huyan. My question is this. Research has shown that 70% of Hong Kong young people experience some kind of mental distress during the pandemic. What do you think should be done?
Well, we people nowadays, especially during these challenging times, are of course facing a lot of mental distress, especially like young people, because we are turning onto the online mode of learning, and this can be very stressful. So of course, I think the best way would be to build a support system, because when facing mental distress, the worst thing would be for teens to get isolated and not be able to get any help they need. That's why the best way would be to alert parents, teachers, or simply the adults who have teenagers around them to pay attention to whether teenagers have signs of distress, like depression or anxiety caused by these challenging times. And when they do notice these changes, it's best for them to know what to do, for them to be there to listen to what the teens have to say and to be willing to offer support and help. Because with support and encouragement, even in their mental distress, teens will be all right.
Thank you, Ms. Ho. You may now proceed to our waiting breakout room. Judges, there will be 1 minute of silence for you to fill out your online score sheets. Thank you all. Let us introduce our second contestant of the senior division, Mr. Wang Chi-Tu. The title of his speech is Life is a Glass. You can make sure that you... Are you ready?
Yes.
May begin.
Let me tell you the story of Mr. Smith. So, Mr. Smith had been working incredibly hard for his whole life to earn more. But it just never seemed enough, even when he became the richest man in town. So, he sacrificed everything that had brought him simple happiness and spent all his time earning money, until the day he died. On his deathbed, Mr. Smith cried with regret, "Dear God, if owning everything in this world is still not enough, what is?" And there he was, lying on the $1.2 million Hastings VB's bed, crying to God like the poorest man on earth. But Maybe he is. Don't laugh, because inside every one of us, there is a little Mr. Smith. Economics tells us that human desire can never be fully fulfilled. We're constantly in a state of more, more, more. Then how can we be abundant? Well, the Greek philosopher Epicurus has a rather simple answer for us. And this is what he said. Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance. What he was trying to say is that abundance is just a state of mind. If we enjoy what we already have, then we're abundant. It's true, because everything begins here, in our mind. A famous experiment proves this point. So a glass of water is put in front of a group of people and they're asked to describe it. They're all looking at the same amount of water, but some say it was half full and some say it was half empty. How come? Because just like us, they're humans, and as humans, we believe what we perceive, and we perceive what we believe. So this belief becomes especially important in hard times, when we must remember the answer Epicurus gave us. And this moment right now is an excellent example. Yes, it might be uncomfortable to wear a mask whenever we go out, but isn't it already a plus for us to go out during such times? Yes, we may not be able to hang out with our friends as regularly as before, but now we finally have the chance to spend more time with our family. Yes, we don't know how long we still have to wait for all these to end, but at least we still have the chance to wait for the end. Some of us couldn't even make it to the end. Ladies and gentlemen, life is a glass of water. Is your glass half full or half empty? It's your choice. And if you somehow happen to be one of those people who pursue abundance in life, whom I think is probably everyone, always choose half full and kick that little Mr. Smith away. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Mr. Wong. Ms. Ward will now ask you a question relating to your speech. The countdown will start after the question has been raised, and you will get 1 minute to answer it. Ms. Ward.
Hello, Chichu.
Hello.
We live in a world where fast fashion is the norm, but which has a severe impact on the environment. But it's economically profitable. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, nowadays we all pursue the latest fashion. Like somebody would like to wear, tiger skin, and some of them even wear bags, carry bags of human bones. But is it really that important? So this question, before we go into this question, we have to first figure out which is more important, being cool or being good. As a human being, we have to understand that the world around us is just made of people. They're all same as us. We're all humans and we're all friends. And not just humans are our friends, because our environment includes everything, like the trees and the animals. And when we harm them just because we want to act cool or be cool, is it really the right thing to do? And for me, I think it's a big no. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ho will now ask a second question that is not related to your speech. Once again, the time will start after the question has been raised, and you will be given 1 minute to answer it. Mr. Ho.
Good morning, Chidi.
Good morning.
My question is this. The online TV drama Squid Game sparked a lot of controversy with its depictions of violence and social inequality. What do you think made it so popular?
Okay, so first of all, Squid Game describes a world of fighting and violence, because they're all like killing each other to win that money. But nowadays, we like these kind of things. Why? Because we're already used to this kind of violence. Back in the days, like in the 70s, we can't really see violence all around the world. But now we have YouTube, we have the internet. We're all looking at this violence and it interests us. It's like, well, we love this kind of violence that drive the craziness into our brains, that make us feel excited. But for me, I think this shouldn't be attributed to our society as a whole. Because our society is gradually becoming more violent. However, it might not be a good thing. So yes, in short, we should not allow this to happen, and maybe we shouldn't watch Squid Game after all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. You may now proceed to our waiting breakout room. There will be 1 minute of silence for judges to fill out the online score sheets. Thank you all. Let us introduce the third contestant of the senior division, Ms. Ho Jo Wei. The title of her speech is Resilience, Enjoyment, Abundance. Ms. Ho, you can adjust your screen to make sure that you can see the timer clearly.
Are you ready? Thank you.
You may begin now.
Good morning, everyone. We all long for an abundant life, don't we? But how? With a brand new iPhone or luxurious car? But none of these bring abundance. I think Greek philosopher Epicurus says it best. Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance. Let's have a look at an epitome of abundant life. He does not have arms, but he can write. He does not have legs, but he can play football. That's Nick Vujicic, born without arms or legs. He went through challenging times, suffering from depression. But he had his parents' encouragement and his faith in God that gave him resilience. He overcame his disabilities and acquired daily skills. He sees his obstacles as opportunities. And with his resilience, he started to enjoy his life. He enjoys sports, such as swimming or surfing. So despite a life without limbs, he's leading a life without limits. And he's now an inspirational figure worldwide. He has visited over 60 countries and spoken to millions of people. His passion is to inspire the world that we can beat adversity and overcome physical and mental disability. Resilience, enjoyment, and abundance. Now back to us. We've been facing the most challenging times due to the pandemic, learning or working from home and social distancing. How do we find abundance at such times? During the pandemic, I enjoy hugging my family. Scientifically, hugs release a cuddling hormone that relieves stress and heals wounds. Hugging my family makes me resilient these days. And so with a loving family, I live in abundance. And now having Zoom lessons, I can have an extra hour of sleep and feel energized for a new day. I can also record lessons for review, improving my learning, and so I enjoy Zoom lessons better. Against all odds, we can be resilient, have enjoyment, and live in abundance. Resilience, enjoyment, and abundance. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Ms. Ho. Ms. Ward will now ask you a question relating to your speech. The counter will start after the question has been raised, and you will be given 1 minute to respond to the question. Ms. Ward, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What have you missed most of all over the last 2 years with the pandemic restrictions?
Well, I can say that the thing I miss most is definitely my friends. So as we all know, due to the pandemic, we have to be quarantined at home. I can no longer go out for casual walks or casual lunch with my friends, and I miss that terribly. I miss just casually calling my friends, hey, you want to go for lunch? Hey, you know that new restaurant? I think it's going to be good. Let's have lunch. Or even, I also miss being at school and being by my classmates. I know my classmates very well because we have been sitting together ever since I was Form 4. And I always miss being at lessons and talking and gossiping even. And I miss all of these. I miss having people around me and miss the energy that we always have in face-to-face lessons. The teacher asks a question and we try our best to not be caught, or if we're caught, get the right answer and not mess up. So I think there are a lot of things I miss about the previous time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ho will now ask a second question that is not related to your speech. Once again, the countdown will start after the question has been raised, and you will be given 1 minute to answer it. Mr. Ho, please.
Good morning, Joey.
Good morning.
My question is this. Do you think Hong Kong's success at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics will encourage more young people to become full-time sports persons?
I think that Hong Kong's success as the 2020 Tokyo Olympics will definitely encourage more people to become full-time athletes. So the main concern, the main problem, the main worry that people have about becoming full-time athletes is definitely, will I really succeed? Because we have heard too many times, whether from relatives or from society, that being a full-time athlete is hard. It's unstable. You're not going to have a good life. You're not going to earn enough money. You're probably going to end up as a beggar. But the success at the Tokyo Olympics for Hong Kong people showed us that we can find success, that if you persist with your dream and you work hard, you can be wherever you want. You can have your passion become your work. You can become a successful athlete. Even Hong Kong, a city that seemingly no famous athletes have ever been from, we can still succeed at Olympics. And that this shows the young people that success is not that impossible. And yes, it will encourage. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ho. You may now proceed to our waiting breakout rooms. There will be 1 minute of silence for the judges to please fill out the online score sheets. Thank you all. Let us introduce the fourth contestant of the senior division, Ms. Wong Ying Chen Gladys. The title of her speech is The Wolf We Feed. Gladys, you can now adjust your screen to make sure that you can see the timer clearly. Are you ready?
Yes, thank you.
You may begin now.
Hi, everyone. Have you been doing well during the pandemic? Epicurus once said, not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance. Our mindsets and the way we see the world is really what makes everything seem the way they are. Changing the ways we think often leads to a fulfilling life. I'd like to start my speech with a fable. There once was an old man teaching his grandchildren about life. He said, "A battle is raging inside of me, and it's a fight between two wolves. One wolf represents fear and anger. The other stands for peace and joy." His grandchildren then asked, "Which wolf will win?" He replied, "The one you feed." When facing adversity, would we fear, or are you going to take a proactive approach to embrace challenges? How do you spend your time during the pandemic? I had faced various problems when the pandemic first started. For instance, I couldn't go out to the libraries, which is torture for a book person like me. I couldn't even do sports outdoors or hang out with my friends. To be honest, I was really cooped up. However, when I turned on the news, something struck me. Though a pandemic was spreading, doctors in Hong Kong were trying their very best to cope with the situation. They could have given up, but they chose to stay and fulfill their responsibility to every patient, even in the most acute circumstances. Who am I to be complaining when so many people are fighting? The strong will of doctors slowly changed my mindset. When I turned back to my bookshelves, I realized that I could reread my own books and learn the morals and themes in depth. Besides, I could do sports at home, where I can finally get a little well-earned me time in solitude. Even though I can't see my friends, we can still show our care and support as we want to keep our connections. Above all, I can spend more quality time with my beloved family. I realized that so long as we wanted to change our mindset, practicing resilience was easier than I thought. Even during the worst situations, we could still be grateful and enjoy our lives if we change the way we think. So, the next time you open up your diary, write about your day in a new and positive manner. After all, it's not what we have, but what we enjoy, which constitutes our abundance. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Gladys. Ms. Ward will now ask you a question relating to your speech. The countdown will start after the question has been raised, and 1 minute will be given to you to answer the question. Ms. Ward, please.
Hello, Gladys.
Hello.
Research shows that over 30% of teenagers are interested in making money quickly, irrespective of the consequences. Do you think materialism is a problem among Hong Kong's young people? Why or why not?
Thank you for your question. And I do think materialism is a problem among Hong Kong teenagers. For me, I think that there's no definition of happiness. Like maybe we would get happiness from our family and friends and people we love in the world, but not from abundance. Like even if we have the most money in the world, that does not ensure happiness. I think happiness comes from pure heart and what we love to do. Like, I think that if we use a lot of money and buy a lot of things, for example, we have an oven and cooker, it does not mean we can make the best bread and we can share it around our family and friends, right? So I think that materialism is indeed a problem because we need to know that happiness is a choice. It is a choice of whether what actions we take and what we are responsible for, and not for the things we buy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ho will now ask a second question that is not related to your speech. Once again, the counter will start after the question has been raised, and there will be 1 minute for you to answer it. Mr. Ho, please.
Good morning, Gladys. My question is this. It has taken almost 16 years to pass the waste charging scheme bill in Hong Kong. Do you think your generation has been left with too much responsibility for the future?
Thank you for your question. And I think that the responsibility for the future is on every generation, and it's not just our generation. So I don't think there's too much responsibility put on us, but the responsibility that we have to bear for the future, for our children and our grandchildren. And I think that the waste charging bill is actually a really important scheme because we have to keep our environment clean, and we have to try to deal with the waste problems, because we have to have a clean environment for our children and our next generation. We are the pillars of the society nowadays. If we're not going to do it, no one else is going to do it. We have to bear our own responsibility and to make the environment a better place for our next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys. You may now proceed to our waiting breakout rooms. There will be 1 minute of silence for judges to fill out the online score sheets. Thank you all. Let us introduce our last contestant for today, Mr. Lau Ching Ho. The title of his speech is Epicurus, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Enjoying What I Have. Mr. Lau, you can adjust your screen to make sure that you can see the timer clearly. Are you ready?
Yes.
You begin now.
I am afraid. We are rapidly losing what we once had. Stock markets are plummeting while middle-aged women are snatching the last rolls of toilet paper from supermarkets. I stayed inside for weeks, nursing my impending sense of doom, while the news only continues to confirm my fears. A study conducted in 2021 found that the anxiety levels of Hong Kong citizens has increased by 42.3%, while the amount of depression symptoms has even doubled. The truth is, we're all afraid. Now, humans are no strangers to challenging situations. Chernobyl, 2 world wars, Black Death. But we have always found a way to seek contentment, even in chaos. So let's go all the way back to ancient Greece, when philosopher Epicurus told us that not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance. The key to abundance is learning to treasure what we have. So what is the one thing that can see us through? Support networks, our friends, our families, or our colleagues. Not only do they support us through every challenge, they also motivate us to become better. When our loved ones give us something to fight for, we develop resilience. Today, at the beginning of this speech, I formed a connection with you by telling you that I'm actually afraid. In return, you would root for me to overcome my fear. When we show vulnerability, we have the chance to encourage one another to get through different obstacles, developing our collective resilience. Personally, the thing that cheered me up during this pandemic was not the government mandates, but the random online conversations with my friends about burgers at 12 a.m. Even when I was trapped at home, learning new dessert recipes from my parents still made me feel productive. You see, when we are with the ones we love, we can overcome any doubt or fear. I still remember watching Avengers Endgame and seeing Captain America, my childhood hero, stand against colossal alien army alone, beaten, battered, bruised, grabbing onto his fragmented shield. In some ways, I think we all feel like Captain America, back against the wall, trying to grab onto that last sliver of hope. Ladies and gentlemen, life is tough. But when we savor the small moments in our life that make life worth living and grab onto our loved ones tightly, then we will have more than enough to fill all that we've lost, enabling us to finally achieve the abundance Epicurus prophesied nearly 3,000 years ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your speech, Mr. Lau. Ms. Ward will now ask you a question relating to your speech. The counter will start right after the question has been raised, and you will be given 1 minute to answer it. Ms. Ward, please.
Hello, Jingho. Instead of getting an expected 9-to-5 job, a lot of young people prefer to be flexible, working in different jobs and different environments to enrich their experiences. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much for that question. I've heard about news of people working different jobs, social media influencers or broadcasters. And we do live in a new society nowadays. A lot of people try their best to enrich their lives by working different jobs. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. While some may express concerns whether they can focus on one occupation alone, what I think is simply this: you only live once. And if you want to do all those things, then go do it. Because we only have 80 years of our lives. And if we don't enrich our lives and do everything we want, then we'll die with regrets. And I don't think anybody here wants that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. He will now ask a second question that is not related to your speech. Once again, the counter will start after the question has been raised, and you will be given 1 minute to answer it. Mr. He, please.
Good morning, Ching-Ho. My question is this. You see, parents, teachers, in fact, all the adults keep telling us not to spend so much time on our phones and other devices. But now it seems everything is on our screens, on an app, especially during the pandemic. Is this a good thing? And do you think this increases the possibility for private information to be compromised?
Thank you very much for that question. I've thought of that similar question myself. In the midst of everything, this pandemic, when we can't even see each other, should we focus more on technology or treasure what we have, like what I said in my speech? I think it's poetic that even with all the hatred in the world, we are still trying to find different ways to connect with each other through technology. I've used different social media sites to talk to my friends about how I'm feeling in the middle of the day. While a lot of people have expressed their concerns on whether whether we have lost our privacies anymore, I think if we want to connect with our friends, nothing really matters anymore. And the best thing we could do is to just live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. You may now proceed to the waiting breakout room. There will be 1 minute of silence for the judges to fill out the online score sheets. Thank you all. Now, all the 5 finalists in the senior division have given their speeches. The judges will now proceed to the judge breakout room for deliberation. Judges, please enter the breakout room. Thank you once again to our contestants for their performances. We're sure that everyone has been incredibly impressed by your performances and enjoyed listening to your speeches. The live voting session for the Audience Favorite Award is officially commencing. Please pick 2 of your favorite contestants, 1 each from the junior division and senior division. You may reference the voting form for the 10 contestants who have just given their speeches. Please scan the QR code and cast your vote. The voting will close until 12:05, so please cast your votes as soon as possible. Please understand that in order to ensure fair competition, each person can only cast 1 vote for each division. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Once you have cast your vote, feel free to go on a break before we come back to the awards ceremony at 12:05. Thank you. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the HKFYG English Public Speaking Contest 2022. To any friends who might have missed it, I'm CN, 2020 Grand Finalist in the junior division of this contest, and your MC today. So as a previous contestant myself, I can tell you that the process of making into the grand finals is truly and genuinely no piece of cake. Especially this year's contestants have to do this all online. Therefore, I believe that all of the grand finalists today deserves a big round of applause. Competing against over 1,000 contestants to get a place in today's grand finals is really challenging, especially in the pandemic. We have prepared a short video for our audience to know more about this year's contest. Please enjoy the video. Now, coming down to our highlighted tradition, may we invite Mr. Andy Ho Wing Chung, Executive Director of the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups, to give welcoming regards. Mr. Ho, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Andrew Leung, Kenneth, Margaret, distinguished judges and question masters, finalists and fans. Welcome to the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups English Public Speaking Contest Grand Finals and Award Ceremony. My warmest congratulations to the finalists. I know it has been a long journey and you have done remarkably well. Doing things online has become almost normal now. In fact, even this contest was conducted completely online, with over 1,030 students from 113 schools taking part. This special experience, however, made no difference to the keys of communication, and that includes speech, which is why we continue with this context. The themes of the grand finals were resilience and commitment. These two words are what we have all needed over the past 2 years during this terrible pandemic. Resilience to never give up, and commitment to stick to our goals and dreams. Each one of you has shown amazing resilience and commitment. So, thank you for setting us such a good example. The context would not have been possible without the efforts and support of so many. I would like to extend my thanks to our co-organizer, the English-speaking Union Hong Kong, especially to Mrs. Margaret Leung, who has been working with us so closely in the past few years, and our 11 supporting organizations. I also have to thank all the judges and adjudicators from the preliminary rounds to today's grand final, especially Mr. C.M. Chen of the Law Society, Dr. Jose Lai of CUHK, and Mr. Jeff Schritter of British Council Hong Kong, Professor Melinda Wong of HKUST, and also our two question masters, Ms. Elizabeth Watt and Mr. Victor Hui. And of course, I would like to thank all the teachers and parents for the encouragement. Finally, the volunteers and Sir T.L. Yang English ambassadors who always make sure the context runs smoothly. Thank you all. To the finalists, again, congratulations. Like your parents and teachers, I'm so proud of you. Remember, good communication is a lifelong advantage. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Ho. The English-speaking Union Hong Kong has been a long-term supporter for our long-standing contest. We are grateful to have ESU Hong Kong as a co-organizer to strive for the same common goal to promote English public speaking in the city. Now, may we invite Mrs. Margaret Leung, Chairman of the Executive Committee of ESU-HK, to share a few words for us.
Thank you. Mr. Ho, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, every spring, I would look out for the opportunity to meet a new group of young contestants for the public speaking competition. Today, the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Group and the English Speaking Union are co-organizing the event for the 19th year. The champion will join other winners from countries around the world to compete in London this May, virtually, of course. Please allow me to tell you more about the English-speaking unit. Don't be alarmed by its name. It's not a union of any nature, but rather an education charity set up in 1918 in London, with the mission to promote international friendship and understanding through the widening use of the English language. It has branches in 50 countries in the world, most of which are non-profit education organizations like the one in Hong Kong. It looks like I'm being mixed. The ESU focuses on oracy, especially for young students. We run programs like public speaking, debating, exchange of students, tour of historical and scenic locations, including and not limited to the Globe, the theatre for Shakespeare plays. One of the annual highlights would be a debate event at the House of Lords for students with elite members of the Parliament. It's a live, memorable event for the 10 selected schools and their chosen students. Maybe with the presence of the Honorable Mr. Leung Kwan Yew, we can make a request to hold debates with the legislative councillors at the LegCo next year. In English, of course. The headquarters of the English-speaking Union in London is a beautiful mansion with marble staircase at 37 Charles Street, Central London. It's among the international embassies and with walking distance to the Dorchester and Ritz hotels. It has a rich library, a nice garden, a fine restaurant and spacious halls where students meet and make friends from around the world. It is also the place where the grand final results will be announced. It is not just competition. During the week, the finalists get invited to visit museums, cultural events, pubs, and if they are lucky enough, they may have the chance to meet our patron, the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, at one of the palaces. An overly exciting week indeed. Hoped we can resume physical finals in London in the not so distant future. Now we have to come back to reality. We must keep ourselves protected and safe, taking all precautions with social distancing, wearing masks, and washing hands. Maybe a number of young students here have not had the chance of vaccination, which I believe your parents will certainly decide and organize for you. You may miss the time of playing and learning at school with fellow students. Try to keep contacts with social media, frequent concourse, discuss homework, sing together, and play video games. Just keep connected. Friendship built at student ages are precious and will normally last a lifetime. Do treasure it. I'm sure the organizer would like to take photos on the screen at some time. So keep smiling, be happy, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lang. Today, we are honored to have the Honorable Andrew Lang Kwan Yun, GBM, GBS, JP, President of the Legislative Council of the Hong Kong Administrative Region, to be our guest of honor today. May we now invite Mr. Lang to say a few words for us. Mr. Lang, please.
Executive Director, Mr. Andy Ho, distinguished judges, fellow contestants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Leadership Institute of the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups for inviting me to this meaningful event. I'm honored to be here to witness the excellent communication skills and unbounded confidence displayed by many young talents. These are essential skills and quality our young people need to become future leaders. Public speaking is never easy. It takes months of research and practice, and years of trial and error. As the president of the Legislative Council, I have done countless stand-ups, press conferences, and speeches over the years. The lesson I have learned is that an effective communication is a two-way street. It is not about merely talking before a group of people, but being able to share ideas that audience will enjoy, remember, and engage with. Now you may ask, what makes a great speech? A great speech is something the audience can relate to and be inspired, which is targeted and actionable. A great speech is about impact and influence. To do this, it is important to understand your audience. Before I speak, I always ask myself, who are my audience? What do they like? What messages do I want them to bring home? By knowing this will help you to connect with your audience. However, keeping up with your audience may be increasingly challenging in today's fast-paced world. With the internet and social media, sharing content has never been easier. By the same token, the human attention span is becoming shorter now, and some studies show that it has now dropped it to just 8 seconds. How to capture people's attention in just 8 seconds? There's no standard formula or universally applicable principle. You need to think outside the box and find the best way that suits your style and the speech you are going to make. The COVID-19 pandemic makes effective communication even harder. Social distancing makes physical interaction nearly impossible. But we can always adapt to changes. Classes, seminars, and even award ceremonies like today's have found their feet online. Even Legislative Council conducted remote meetings for the first time in history. Who would have imagined this years ago? No one knows that the future holds. But boys and girls, you are the one who hold the future. Be creative. Think ahead. Imagine the unimaginable. This is how you keep abreast of the times and become effective communicators. In addition to firm grasp of the mother tongue of Chinese language, good English skills, and international outlook are your added value and strength. Take advantage of them to stay competitive. Hong Kong is our home, and each one of you holds the key to making this city a better place. Without further ado, I would like to thank you for your time and dedication to this event. The event has come to its 19th year. Here's to many more successes in the years ahead. The Leadership Institute has been doing an excellent job in providing a platform for you to excel in English public speaking, which I profoundly appreciate. And to fellow contestants, whether you are bringing home an award or not, you should feel proud of the hard work and long hours you have all put in. Good job, everyone. Thank you all, and let the ceremony begin.
Thank you, Mr. Leck. It is a great honor to have Mr. Kenneth Chen Wei on, SBS Vice President of the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups, to adjudicate on our grand finalists' performances. Being an expert in his field, he joined us today as the head of the judging panel. May we also invite Mr. Chen to give contestants some comments on behalf of the judging panel.
Thank you very much, Andy, dear contestants, judges, question masters, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me congratulate all the contestants for having done an excellent job in giving us a morning of inspiring speeches. We are all very impressed by your poise, by your confidence, and by the content of the speeches. One of the question masters made a comment that all the speakers are very compelling, and I couldn't agree with her more. Well, I should also acknowledge that it is by no means easy to deliver a speech remotely by Zoom. As another question master commented, the magic of speech giving is somehow lost. The abundant charisma that no doubt all of you have cannot be fully communicated remotely via Zoom. So it is by no means easy. It's impossible for you to tell from audience feedback what you need to emphasize, how you should enunciate, and so on. So, but you have all done a remarkable job despite of all these limitations. And let me first of all congratulate you all for that. It is not easy for the judges to complete their task. That's why I think we are running a little over time. And as you no doubt have felt, the topics are not easy either. We have given you a difficult task, thrown you difficult questions, and we appreciate what you have, how you have responded. As the lecturer president has said, it is also important for you to relate to your audience. And perhaps a comment that I would personally make is that while your contents are all very interesting, I sense that a lot of it has to do with your perspective or your own life. Perhaps, and this is, I appreciate this is a big ask, but do notice that your judges tend to be older. So when you pick out examples, when you pick out stories to tell, I think it is a good practice to try to relate more to your audience, to understand, try to make your impact based on your audience perspective, not just your own. So that's perhaps one point that I would like to make. The other is that I thought the question answer piece was most fascinating. The questions are themselves very difficult. I think our question masters have done a brilliant job. And the vast majority of you have answered your questions very well. But do practice on that, because it would not be your first time, would not be your last time to have to think on your feet. As you progress further in your studies, it is important that to practice that skill. You know, doing a prepared speech and having to deliver an impromptu speech, having to answer questions without preparations are actually all important skills. And I would say that as I have seen at LegCo, our government officials find it most difficult to actually answer questions, much more so than they're delivering their prepared responses. So that is something that I would encourage all contestants to polish up on. And to do that, it's a former boss once commented to me that the trick to getting prepared for this is to just think more, to think of all the possibilities and think of what your audience may wish to know, and also be on the lookout for events, for current events. And those are all sort of important ways to prepare for these impromptu questions and answers. So that's pretty much my comments. But in closing, I would just want to make a point that in addition to my role as Vice President of the Federation, I also have a day job, and the day job is the Secretary General of the Legislative Council Secretariat. And to Margaret's point, earlier, we certainly welcome all contestants and all Federation friends to visit us when the social distancing measures are relaxed. We run a very extensive education program at LegCo. We actually have what we call mock debates, which we encourage schools and other youth organizations to sign up. And we do provide venues for these events to happen. And in addition to the wonderful Fanling Magistrates, which is also a great venue, the LegCo complex is another equally fascinating venue to practice your skills. So with that, I would like to thank the Federation for organizing this another year, for all our co-organizers, for helping, and a big credit to go to all our staff behind the scenes to make this all happen. So thank you very much.
A massive thank you to Mr. Chen. Also, thank you very much to all the judges and guests for your kind inputs. We will now officially move on to the awards presentation. Before going into our contestant rankings, we'd like to give a shout out to all the schools and students who participated in this year's competition. Most notably, we would like to award the 3 most actively participating schools for especially supporting the competition. They are, in alphabetical order, Carmel Divine Grace Foundation Secondary School, Mary Knoll Convent School Secondary Section, and Pauline Cook Laws Foundation College. Their support has been vital to the success of this year's contest. Before we move on to announcing the final results, just to create even more suspense, Let us first announce our two gleaming audience favorites who have emerged. For the junior division, the audience favorite award goes to Poon Hao Hwa. And for the senior division, the audience favorites award goes to Lao Ching Ho. Congratulations to Poon Hao Hwa and Lao Ching Ho. We will now be announcing the results for our finalists. First, let us start with the results of the junior division. There will be 2 merit awards, 1 second runner-up, 1 first runner-up, and a champion. Let us first start with the merit awards. The merit awards go to Rakisha Shrestha and Aaron Smith Eunice Onyenyechi. Congratulations. Let us now announce the second runner-up. Second runner-up of the junior division is Poon Hao Hwa. Congratulations to Poon Hao Hwa. And now, let us announce the first runner-up and champion. Now, may the 2 remaining contestants share a little bit about how you're feeling right now?
Hi, I'm Lao Sum Lam, and I'm feeling really tense, and I'm kind of excited for the result. And no matter the result, I feel like I've learned a lot on this journey already. And yes, thank you.
Hello, I'm Phoebe Leung, and I really can't believe I made it this far. Thank you, everyone.
Well, then let's see who is the champion of the junior division in the EPS 2022. And ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause first to our first runner-up, Lao Sum Lam. Congratulations. And now let's share our joy with our champion, Lang Choi Lam Phoebe. May we now invite Phoebe to say a few words to us for the champion speech.
Thank you so much. Wow, another speech. Who would have expected? Anyways, I am, pardon my nervousness. I really have not expected that I would have made it this far. And I'm really honored to receive the award as the champion of the HKFYG English Public Speaking Contest. These words still sound wrong in my mouth. I would have never expected this, even if you asked me 2 months ago or even just 12 hours ago, because I'm sure that every other contestant here are just as capable, if not more, of winning this award. The journey from the start of the contest has not been an easy one. We all face so many challenges every week, and with eager anticipation if we have made it to the next round where more challenges await. I'm grateful to receive this award as a mark of my achievements, but I may also give a thanks to Mr. Wong, who has been my mentor throughout this entire time, my fellow contestants who inspired and challenged me, and my family and friends for supporting me along the way. It is with their help that I grew as a public speaker and I'm where I am today. Thank you so much.
Congratulations again, you all definitely deserve it. The champion and the first runners-up of the junior division will have the opportunity to represent Hong Kong to participate in the national English speaking competition organized by China Daily, subjected to the final confirmation from the organizer. So stay tuned with our winners. Now, we will be announcing results for the senior division. We will also start with the merit awards. The merit awards go to Wang Chit Yu and Ko Hyu Yan. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let us now the second runner-up. The second runner-up of the senior division is Wang Ying Chen Gladys.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations to Gladys.
Thank you.
Let us announce the first runner-up and champion. Now, may I once again invite the 2 remaining contestants to share a little bit about how you're feeling right now.
I'm feeling, well,
obviously entirely nervous. I can feel my heart beating, but no matter what, I know that I have tried my best and I have really learned a lot in this contest. So thank you to everybody.
Yeah, I'm also feeling a little bit intense, but I think everyone did a very great job and I'm just glad to be here.
Well then, let's see who is the champion of the senior division in EPS 2022. And ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. First to our first runner-up of the senior division, Ho Jo Wei. Congratulations. And now, thank you. And now let's share our joy with our champion, Lao Cheng Ho.
Hi, hello.
May we now invite Lao Cheng Ho to say a few words to us for the champion speech?
Yes, thank you very much. This is an honor. I'd like to thank Ms. Cho, Bill, and Mark for supporting me on this journey. And I'd also like to thank my family and my friends. And of course, the judges and the organizers. Thanks a lot.
Congratulations again. The first runner-up and second runner-up of the senior division will have the opportunity to represent Hong Kong to participate in the national English speaking competition organized by the China Daily. And for our senior champion, he will have the opportunity to represent Hong Kong to participate in the international public speaking contest, which will be held in mid-May. Let us wish our contestants best of luck for the upcoming contests. Last but not least, may we now invite all our guests, judges, question masters, Andy, and contestants to take a group photo. Please look into your cameras. 3, 2, 1, smile. One more. 3, 2, 1, smile. A big round of applause once again to all of our winners and guests. Congratulations once again to all the finalists. And again, a big thank you to our amazing audience, our event crew who's been working day and night for this event, our organizer, the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups, our co-organizer, the English Speaking Union Hong Kong, the 11 supporting organizations, and our media partners. Happy weekend to you all. I am Cian, your MC for today, and we'll see you all again next year.